Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're cutting through the noise around Rematch. It's a brand new entry into that, fiercely competitive world of online sports gaming. It's a title that's launched with a bit of a bang, but also, well, as we'll find out, with some bumps along the road. We've gathered insights from game reviews, lots of player feedback, performance data too, trying to give you the full picture here. So our mission today really is to figure out, can a truly innovative game, one with a strong core, overcome a bit of a rocky launch in today's, well, cutthroat gaming landscape? Let's unpack this.
Indeed. And we'll be looking, beyond just the initial buzz. We want to understand what really makes Rematch tick, what are its immediate challenges, and maybe more importantly, what its potential means for the broader gaming scene. What's really interesting here, I think, is how quickly a new game can establish a strong identity, even when facing some of these, well, predictable early hurdles.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. What exactly is Rematch? Well, it's a newly released competitive online team sports game. Just hit the scene June 19th, 2025. Developed by Sloclap, you might know them from
Oh, yes, Sifu. Good pedigree there.
Right. And published with Kepler Interactive. It launched simultaneously on PC, Steam and Game Pass, and also PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and S consoles. Now, what truly sets it apart, I think, is the gameplay. Imagine really fast-paced, skill-based action, but with this unique twist on soccer. You're controlling individual athletes in these tight, high-energy arenas. Matches are like 3v3, 4v4, or the competitive mode is 5v5.
Okay.
And here's the biggest twist, maybe. No offsides, no fouls, and no stoppages. Just non-stop, almost chaotic action.
Wow, okay. So constant play.
Exactly. It blends these sort of arcade-style mechanics like powerful wall passes, shoulder tackles, but you need serious precision, and tactical teamwork. What's clever, I think, is how these seemingly simple arcade moves, they open up genuinely complex strategy.
Right.
Like a well-timed wall pass. It isn't just flashy. It can totally create a scoring chance out of nothing. Demands precise timing, communication from your team. It really elevates it beyond just, mashing buttons.
And you mentioned that no dedicated goalie rule earlier. How did that, it seems like a minor tweak, but how did that fundamentally change the strategy based on what you're seeing in the sources?
Yeah, that's a great question. The sources really highlight that. Without a fixed goalie, basically any player can step in, and often must step in as the last line of defense. It adds this layer of urgency and depth to every single play.
I can imagine.
It pushes players to constantly adapt their roles, communicate in real time. It makes that already high skill ceiling feel even more rewarding. Because, every player on the field has to be thinking defensively, not just about scoring.
That makes sense. Constantly shifting responsibility.
Exactly. So, okay, beyond the core mechanics, how did Rematch actually land with the initial reviews? What did the critics think?
Well, critics have really praised it, mostly for its originality, the intensity, and a surprisingly satisfying learning curve, which is interesting. Mirror Station called it a tactical, intense experience. Pretty straightforward. And here's a quote that really stood out to me. Kotaku said, "One of the best games I've played this year, and I don't even like soccer."
Wow, okay, that's high praise, especially the don't like soccer part.
Right. And ESPN added, "Every action feels weighty and smooth, but expect a learning curve." So, acknowledging that difficulty again. Yeah, and this isn't just, generic praise. It feels like validation for the core design choice. It signals that even with a steep learning curve, players, or at least critics, are drawn to genuine innovation. These reviews really underscore the game's core strength, a unique gameplay loop. It's clearly hitting a chord, offering something genuinely different, even for people who might not normally play sports games. But, as ESPN pointed out, that originality clearly comes with a challenge, right? That significant learning curve.
Yeah, absolutely. So the critics had their say, but how did this translate to the actual player experience, once it hit the masses? Well, user feedback generally echoes a lot of this praise, actually. Many players seem to be appreciating the fresh gameplay, that fast pace, the deep, skill-based systems.
Yeah.
It seems like the core concept is really resonating. It's pulling people in with its kind of unique flavor. But as with any big launch, right, there's always the other side of the coin.
Always.
GameSpot, for instance, noted it was thrilling when it works, but inconsistent matchmaking can frustrate.
The matchmaking.
Yeah.
Okay.
And these technical issues, like lag and the current lack of full crossplay, they sound pretty significant for a competitive online game. Could you maybe quickly break down what netcode and server desyncs actually mean for the average player, and why are these so critical?
Yeah, absolutely. So when players talk about netcode, they're basically referring to the underlying network stuff. How smoothly and accurately your actions, shooting, passing, tackling, get communicated across the internet to the server and other players.
Right.
Bad netcode means frustrating delays,
Yeah.
or like shots that look like they hit but don't register. It can really ruin a competitive match.
Right. Infuriating.
Totally. And server desyncs. That means your game, what you're seeing on your screen, isn't perfectly lined up with what the server or other players are seeing. Leads to those moments where you swear you dodged something, but you still get hit, or the ball seems to teleport. It's that mismatch.
Gotcha.
And user feedback from places like Reddit, online forums, it confirms this is an issue. You see players saying things like, the game is pretty good, plays well with a controller, which is positive. But then also, it's not ready for launch, yet netcode and rank system need work. So it's a mixed bag right now.
So it's definitely not just a minor kink then. It's like trying to play, I don't know, high-stakes online chess when half your pieces keep lagging or vanishing.
Exactly. These technical aspects, they matter immensely for a competitive online game. This is where player patience really gets tested, For a game that relies so heavily on real-time competition, server stability, robust online systems, they're absolutely critical, not just for launch, but for long-term player retention, and definitely for any esports potential.
Okay, so despite those initial technical hiccups, which sound pretty major, Rematch actually had a really strong launch, in terms of player numbers, anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah, over 1 million unique players jumped in during just the first 24 hours.
1 million, wow.
And it hit about 93,000 concurrent players on Steam at its peak, which is pretty impressive for a new IP.
That is impressive.
As of now, the game holds a respectable 78% positive rating from nearly 15,000 reviews on Steam. So, mostly positive, despite the issues.
Okay, see, what's truly fascinating here is what those numbers tell us, right? Despite the technical problems we just talked about, the sheer volume of players and those generally positive Steam reviews, they underscore a crucial point. The core gameplay loop of Rematch, it must be so compelling that it's drawing players in and keeping them engaged even through those launch pain points.
It seems like it.
It's really a testament to the strength of the concept, I think.
Yeah.
The players are willing to give Sloclap some time to, iron out the wrinkles. And the fact that a hotfix already went out, and they're committing publicly to fixing netcode and adding full crossplay.
Which is huge, yeah.
Yeah, full crossplay meaning, players on PlayStation, Xbox, PC can all play together eventually. That removes a massive barrier. That developer response, that communication, it's vital for building long-term trust.
This feels like a key piece of the puzzle in answering our earlier question, doesn't it, about overcoming a rocky launch?
It definitely is. That active developer response seems critical. So, okay, for those listening who might be interested, where can you jump in? Rematch is widely available now, PC via Steam, and also Game Pass.
Accessibility there with Game Pass.
Yeah, definitely. Also on PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and S. Details on pricing, the various editions. I think there's like a standard Pro, Elite, and Plan future stuff. Like they mentioned, offline AI play coming eventually.
Yeah.
All that detail you can find in our show notes if you're interested. So let's try and synthesize this. What does it all mean for Rematch right here, right now? Let's quickly sum up the major pros and cons. On the plus side, you're getting fast, intense, truly unique gameplay. That seems undeniable.
Agreed. There's that high skill ceiling, which makes teamwork feel incredibly rewarding when it clicks. And it's showing great momentum, especially on Game Pass and Steam, despite the issues.
Right. But then the cons.
Yeah.
We can't ignore those, and they mostly revolve around its launch date, as we've discussed. You've got the lag and the netcode issues we detailed. It doesn't yet have full crossplay, which splits the player base somewhat.
For now, yeah.
The ranked mode can feel unstable, according to players, and definitely there's that steep learning curve, especially for more casual players just jumping in. So the big question becomes, how quickly can Sloclap really address these technical hurdles before player frustration starts to outweigh that compelling core gameplay? That's the race they're in now.
Yeah, it really is. Look, Rematch feels like a bold and exciting new take on competitive sports gaming. It's definitely got potential. While it's clear it still has some technical wrinkles to iron out, the core gameplay seems strong, genuinely addicting from what people are saying.
Yeah.
With continued developer support, fixing those issues, adding content, this game truly feels like it has the potential to grow, maybe into a major force in online sports, maybe even esports down the line. It's not a game you'll likely master in a weekend, which for many competitive players is exactly the appeal, isn't it? It's got that easy to learn, hard to master vibe.
Absolutely. And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is watching how Rematch sort of forces us to consider this evolving relationship between game developers and players. It raises an important question, maybe for you listening. In this age of constant updates, early access becoming more common, are we entering a new era? An era where maybe players are more forgiving of a rough launch if the foundational idea, the core concept, feels genuinely revolutionary or exciting. How much potential are you willing to invest in, even if the current execution isn't quite perfect yet? Something to think about.